What's up, guys? I'm Toria, former Slippery Rock alumni and aspiring powerlifter, hopefully. I'm here with my good friend Curtis today. He's been around the block a couple times in the lifting world. He's very knowledgeable, very good at what he does, but I'll let him introduce himself. He's going to kind of run this video for you today, okay? Off to Kurt.
For those of you who don't know me, like Toria said, I'm Curtis Miller. I've been powerlifting for over a decade. When I started back in 2012, my best total at the time was 1,300 pounds at 180 pounds body weight. And since then, I've managed to hit a 2,000 pound raw total in the 242 pound weight class. And one of the ways that I was able to do that was by focusing very early on at establishing a good technique and good execution on all of my lifts. And if I knew that if I had the foundation for the good execution and good technique, that I could build the strength off of that much easier than if I were to try to do it in the reverse order. So today I'm going to show you the setup technique and the execution for the bench press that has allowed me to lift into the mid 400 pounds in competition. And the first thing that we want to start with is going to be figuring out if we want to start the bench going with our setup from the feet up to our head or from our head down to our feet. So what we're going to do, I'm going to show you both ways, and then it's going to be up to you to figure out which way that you want to use. Now, as we know, we don't have to have our feet tucked unless if we're lifting in a federation, if we're competing in a federation where you're allowed to have your heel off the ground, then experiment with if you feel stronger with your feet back or with your feet flat. At the same time, if you compete in USAPL, IPF, federations like that, you're going to need to understand the rules and know that your feet are going to have to be flat. Now, with that being said, the whole purpose of our foot position on the bench is to be able to establish tension in our lower body and leg drive. Leg drive is not something that we just want to flip on and off like a switch when we go to press the bar. It's something that we want to establish from the very beginning of the setup before we even start the rep as we're unracking the bar. Okay, it's like a gas pedal in a car. There's no 100% or nothing. It can be gradual, and that's what we're going to go over in a second. So the two ways to set up, if I start from the floor up, I'm going to find a landmark on the bench and on the floor. I'm going to start with my feet in that position, and I'm going to leave them there after I go back and get under the bar. So I'm leaving my feet in that position. I'm coming back under the bar. And what I like to do is I like to start behind the bar, way behind the bar, much further than I would be when I'm set up and ready to go. I want to get my grip, and what I'm going to do is use the bar to pull myself up and down towards the end of the bench. So I'm pulling myself up towards the bar, down, and I'm going to set here, and then I'm going to use my legs to push myself back, pushing my big toe through the front of my shoe, and I'm trying to drive my traps and my neck into the bench as hard as possible and elevate my sternum as high as I can towards the ceiling. So I'm using my legs to push back into the bench, driving my neck, my traps, and my head into the bench until I find that spot that gives a lot of tension in my hips and my eyes are just slightly behind the bar. That is going to be the floor to top starting position. Now we can also do the reverse. So if I start and I set my traps and my neck first, I'm just doing the opposite of what I did from the floor up. I'm going to grab my grip, pull myself up, feet on the bench, set my traps. So from here, I'm pulling that bar against the hooks, and I'm kind of pulling myself back just like I did when my feet were on the floor. So my neck, my head, and my traps are in the bench, and then I'm going to put my feet down one at a time. From here, I can wiggle them into position, and then right before I unwrap, I'm going to use those legs, that leg drive, to reinforce that position and unwrap. So those are two ways to set up. Now, like I said, It's going to be on you to figure out which one works best. So now that we have our setup, we want to go over the execution of the lift. We want to make sure we're grabbing it correctly, and we want to make sure that we're bringing it down correctly. So when we grab the bar, we want to make sure that our hands are not internally and our shoulders not internally rotated on the bar, because that's going to cause too much elbow flare. That's going to put us in a bad position. We want to make sure that that bar is sitting straight across our hand and not going down towards our wrist. So by straight across, we can grab the bar and externally rotate our shoulder, trying to break that bar, and that's going to build a tremendous amount of stability and tension in the lats. It's going to help give us the leverage over the bar as we're bringing it down. So regardless of how you set up, we're going to make sure that we get in position, and then from right here, instead of having my elbows flared, I'm going to grab the bar and externally rotate the shoulder, trying to bend that bar in my hands. Now I'm ready to go. My back is tight, my legs are on, I'm driven into the bench, and I'm using my legs to drive back as I'm pulling the bar against the hooks simultaneously to unwrap. Now from here, what I'm thinking about doing is taking a breath into my sternum and elevating it up towards that bar. So my goal is to push through the floor into the bench and push my sternum up as I'm rowing the bar down. So a good cue for that is just like we're doing an inverted row, we're taking our elbows and we're thinking about pulling our elbows to the floor as opposed to trying to guide the bar down to us. So don't think about what the bar is doing in your hands. All you're doing is squeezing that bar, holding that tension, and then pulling the elbows to the floor and pushing the sternum up to the bar to meet in the middle. That's going to decrease the range of motion while also building tension in your lats and your lower body. So it's the difference between this and this. Much tighter from head to toe. And then the last thing we want to focus on for a good press, we have our back set, we're holding the bar right, we have our leg drive. We always want to make sure that we press that bar gradually over our chin as opposed to a straight line. If I go to press the bar and I'm in a good position here, my legs are on, and I pull that bar down to my chest, if I go to press straight up, that bar will, in theory, actually be pressing away from me, down towards my feet. That's going to take me out of my mechanical advantage, and it's going to make it so that bar will get out of the bar path, and I hit a strong sticking point. Instead, I want sternum up, legs on, drive that bar slightly back over our chin in a slight arcing motion as we're pressing. If you can hit those things, you're going to be hitting a bigger, stronger bench press. Toria, take it away. Let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. Thanks for watching, everyone. Pretty soon you're going to be hitting numbers just like Sir Kurt over here. I didn't know what else to say.
No, that was solid.